What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. You're on the Retro Bliss Rewind podcast. I am Retro Bliss. If you guys are watching from over at Mike's Gaming Gala, we do simulcast over there. But whether you're on the Retro Bliss channel or the Mike's Gaming Gala channel, you're watching the same thing. We have an exciting show tonight. We have Eduardo Mello of Opcode Games. Now, Eduardo is not, let's call him Ed, okay? Ed has been on the show before, so he's not a stranger to the podcast. So we welcome you guys to join in the chat with your questions, comments, that kind of thing. So without further ado, let's bring on the panel. First, there's Mike from Mike's Gaming Gala, the devil himself, and then our special guest, Ed Mello.
Hello.
Hey.
What's
and
going
Brian
on?
will be joining us soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's easy to get lost, especially when you're a working guy and you come home and you got to do dinner and everything like that. It's easy to kind of lose track sometimes. That's okay. Mike and Ed actually set this up, and I'm glad of it because there's been a lot happened since the last time that he was on the show, and I want to find out what's been going on at Opcode Games. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that have happened since the last time you were here.
Sure. So Opcode. Okay. So for Opcode, last year we started shipping our first Atari release, 7800 release, or should I say re-release? Right? We got Popeye,
Yeah,
we got
Keystone Capers,
Mooncrest, yeah. Also a few months ago we started shipping some our newest ColecoVision games, including Pac-Man GX, which is I got this thing here for best. Best Atarian's Choice Wildcard.
That's awesome.
For Pac-Man GX, yeah. So it's a game that I'm really proud of. Now, as you probably know, Atari side of things, we got some bumps. We had some issues with supplies in terms of cartridges. The person that was supplying to us has I would say probably very limited bandwidth. So we're getting some cartridges here and there, but not enough. So I would say probably a month after we start shipping became clear to us that that was a major problem. So that's when we decided to actually invest in this. We got our own cartridge for Atari. We got tooling, and they're all those are in manufacturing stage. I'm waiting for them to arrive.
So you're going to be making your own now?
Yeah, so we're making thousands of those now. So they should be here soon, and then we hopefully gonna normalize the distribution, shipping, get all the pre-orders fulfilled. But anyway, it was unexpected. It happened.
Yeah,
we're scrambling to get the problem fixed.
Well, that's always a worry too when you're relying on, I presume, international supply chains, and then
actually the supplier was here in the US.
Oh, really? Okay.
But it's a single guy, so just one person. So I don't know. I mean, I think he has other commitments or something. So we're not expecting that actually, and now we knew that eventually we would have our own cartridge, because we have that for the ColecoVision. Just not planning to have this soon, but okay.
Yeah. And in the last, I forget when you were last on. I think it's like a year and a half ago, 2 years almost. when we were last talking, you had not even yet released your Intellivision games yet.
This wasn't even
I
out
think,
yet.
yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah.
was that one. Time Pilot was coming, and I think the Intellivision games were coming. They were already up for pre-order. But since then, you've released Intellivision games. You've released more ColecoVision games. You've released now your 7800 games. Obviously, I was
Mhm.
really excited about that. Some great ones. Popeye and Keystone Coppers, in particular, are really good. And Atari 2600 as well. So you're expanding into a lot of different regions.
Yeah. So let's start with the Intellivision because that's how things got started. Actually, what happened was up to 2023, Opcode was kind of a hobby for me, side thing, right?
Mhm.
I have been doing ColecoVision development and publishing since late 90s or something. And then things happen and I decide, okay, you know what? I'm gonna try to do this full time. So the first thing that became clear is, okay, if you're doing this as a hobby, the kind of content I was doing, and we can talk more about that later because I would like to comment on some of the things that I was listening to the podcast last week.
Yeah.
But the kind of content I have been doing for ColecoVision, mostly arcade ports. So you kind of get in this situation. Okay, so if it's a hobby, it's kind of acceptable because if there's any problems, you can just stop or whatever.
Yeah.
If you're doing this full time, it becomes risky. So we decide the first idea was, okay, so how about we get license? And we actually got a couple license. We got a license for Exarion and for Naughty Boy, which are both
Okay.
arcade games from Jaleco. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those are licensed actually. So, but the
Very
thing
well
with
done, by the
license,
way.
yeah, but the thing with license is that it's hard to justify the market we have for ColecoVision. I think any of those systems, it's hard to justify the cost. So my idea was, okay, so how about I get the license, and instead of doing this just for the ColecoVision, I do this, for all the Atari era platforms or the main platforms. So we get for Intellivision, ColecoVision, Ataris, etc. So that was the plan. And because of that, actually, I start get in touch with other developers, and to get help to port those games. So the in the end, what happened was we only released for the Intellivision. It was not a very, financially speaking, was not
Mm.
it's not what we're expecting. The Intellivision, it's the size of the market. I think I don't know if it's saturated or whatever.
It's a smaller market. It is definitely growing now with the Sprint.
Okay.
But it like there is no way it'll ever be as big as Atari.
Yeah, but even compared to ColecoVision, it's like
Well,
ColecoVision
and I think
several
the other
times.
thing, too is like we've got in the Intellivision community, we've got four kind of main
Yeah,
publishers,
exactly.
and everybody
Exactly.
knows about them. And
Yeah.
so you create, and don't get me wrong, I talked about them. Casey, the Intellivision gamer, talked about them. Papa Pete talked about them. Like all of us were talking about them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the whole community is like, oh yeah, I got to go to that
Yeah.
ColecoVision guy to buy Intellivision games now. So
Well,
you almost have to train the market.
yeah. Anyways, I think it's okay. But I don't know if
I don't
it's
think there's I don't think that's a big obstacle to overcome because I'll give you an example. I know it's the same console, but like John Champeau, for years and years, he was his own thing. He programmed his games and he distributed them. And he decided that expand out and start distributing games from other people. And he didn't miss a beat.
Yeah, but Champ Games has always been known for 2600 games, and he only does 2600. It's as if Champ Games started doing ColecoVision games. That's not to say nobody would find them, but it wouldn't be your first thought.
But my point is that Opcode, the name Opcode or Opcode Games, whichever way you look at it, you may think in your mind, if you're used to them selling ColecoVision games, that you might not want to. But there may be a number of people. All they have to do is do a simple web search on a homebrew, and up will pop Opcode. It's just the way that search engine optimization works. So I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue. I wouldn't think so. Hey, Bob's
Bob
in the chat.
Yeah,
Bob Dick Crescenzo, our buddy. We want to have him back on the show.
Obviously, as the person who published those games, you said that you didn't find the market, and I'm sorry we interrupted you. You were going to say something else about comparing it to.
Yeah, I mean, my experience with the also developers in the Intellivision space was not the best. Let's say they have a different culture of the
they definitely
the rest of yeah. So I'm not going there, but anyways, the thing is, it didn't go as expected. But the good thing was, on the other hand, we got in touch with a lot of other developers for other systems, because also planning versions for the 2600, 700.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen, but whatever. We got to know those developers, and it was about the same time that there was this thing with the Atari Asia Store purging games.
The great port purge of 2023.
Yeah, and I guess it was a good timing. So we create those kind of relationship with those developers, including Bob, right? And that's how we start actually publishing for Atari, which is actually was a thing. I mean, it was the 7800 especially. We don't know exactly yet about the 2600 because we don't have any game out yet. But for the 7800, it went very well, to the point where we happy, like, oh, okay, now we found a system that can sell comparable to ColecoVision, which is awesome for us. Yeah.
That I'm impressed. That's the 7800. 7800. I think lately it's been getting a lot more love, especially since the 2600 Plus came out, because it plays 7800 games. But that's one system for the longest time didn't feel like it got a lot of love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me tell you something, okay? Quick off here, but it has to do with the 700. For a very long time, for me, I always thought of the 700 like this other system that's not as capable as the NES or something. Although I participate in the expansion module project with Kurt Vendel back in 2010, and I was really involved with the hardware to the point where I was doing glue logic and having ideas for things to accelerate the 700. The thing with the 700 is, any other system you can probably think of, like ColecoVision, Intellivision, or NES, or Genesis, whatever, Super Nintendo, they all, if you take a look at the specs, you kind of get a clear picture of what the system is capable of. Because the whole video thing is very deterministic in the sense that, okay, you have a background plane or 2 planes or 3 planes, whatever, and you use tiles. You have this many tiles. It doesn't matter if you're going to use them or not use them. Those are the things you have. And it has this many sprites, and you can display those many sprites on screen at the same time. Those, these many sprites in the same scan line. Everything. So it's really to kind of get a picture of of the system capabilities. Like, okay, 700 is very different because it's Maria is basically a render. So even if you check the documentation, unless you start experimenting with that, it's really hard to get an idea of okay, so how many things I can put in the same scan line, for example. Can I have a background with this many objects and still have things moving in front of it? The kind of thing is really hard to figure out unless you start trying those things. And I saw the light early this year for the first time. I actually sort of try some 700, and it's unbelievable. I could not believe it. I would say that I think there's no other 8-bit system, perhaps maybe other than the PC Engine, that's as capable as the 700s. It's just
it's a great console.
There's a lot of
it's a beast.
Untapped potential in there, I think.
There it is. Oh my God. I start working that thing and like, oh my God, this is so powerful. And you start thinking all the possibilities, all the different things, it could be possible, and no one has tried yet. So yeah, it's amazing machine.
And so, when you take advantage of like on chips on the cartridge to give you like the pokey sound and stuff, like you can even make up for the drawbacks on the system itself, because the system, the 7800 system audio is notoriously not great, but you can do a lot of really cool things with that with offboard chips. And
so I like that we're going all the all different place here, but so about that, I think that I also since I found out that GCC was behind most of the Atari stuff, starting late 82 something, I became a huge fan of them. I mean, to the point where if if I was given the choice of going back in time and say you can go work whatever you want, what is your dream? My dream would be to work for GCC, because those guys, they're just amazing. They're beyond amazing. And I had I was lucky enough to talk to Stephen Carlson back in 2010. We're doing the expansion module, and also I did an interview with him last year or something. And I know, for example, that two things. Yes, they always planned the sound to be inside the cartridge. I don't think they had POC in mind, as you know, but they had MIDI in mind, which is more capable sound chip. The other thing is, we have this thing in the cartridge. There is one line there. There is the halt line. And the halt line is basically used between Maria and the CPU. So Maria can sign to the CPU that it needs to use the bus, right? So because the bus is shared, they share the same memory. And the thing is, if you think about why did they put there the cartridge, the pins in the cartridge, right? And then for me the answer is simple, because they are planning, of course, to have mappers that use that. And that's really important, because once you have a mapper that supports or can know if the access is coming from Maria or the CPU, then you can do some amazing stuff. And you need to remember that one reason, for example, why the NES got so many amazing games, especially second half of its life, was because all the mappers, MMC3, 5, whatever, Konami mappers. So that's one area I think that where the 700 is lacking, because the the potential is there. It's just that
Mhm.
no one other than Ricky Vicky used that. As far as
Yeah.
I know, I don't know. Yeah.
And so, like, obviously, what I'm getting here is you're really passionate about the 7800 now.
I am now. Yes, I must confess.
Is that so? Let's talk a little bit. So there's opcode, and you'll notice in Ed's hero line there, there's also 9-bit robot. Is that new kind of passion? Is that what you were hinting to me before the show about platform differences?
Yes, yeah. So what is 9-bit robot? It's actually a new company that we started. It's not a new label. I mean, I have seen people saying it's a new label. It's not a new label. It's actually a separate company. It's a real company, actually. Yeah. And the idea, I don't know, let's say the motivation behind 9-bit robot to start 9-bit, I would say probably we had three main reasons. The first reason is because we believe that well, first of all, we as I said, as a formal business, we know that we cannot keep doing like arcade ports and whatever forever, right?
At some
So
point, yeah.
yes, yeah. So that's of course is one reason. And 90 bits is dedicated to either original or licensed content. So no, that's the direction we probably could be moving in the future more towards that. The second reason was because, as I said, we started publishing some games for the Atari 700, 2600, and we initially it was basically games that got dropped off Atari store. But then we started creating a good relationship with those developers, and I would say I started creating a great appreciation and admiration for their their games or their creations, and that was another reason. Like, oh, okay, we should have a with Opcode. If you saw, we sort of got the same template that we have for ColecoVision, which was my games, and
Yep.
applied to everybody, right? And that was the thing that in retrospect, I start thinking about it, like, you know what? I don't think that was a good idea because each developers is different. You cannot treat them as sort of part of Opcode or something because they're not.
Yeah.
So I thought they deserve to be put front and center, with the release instead of Opcode being front and center.
Mhm.
So you're gonna see when you start releasing 90-bit robot games that you're gonna only see the developer name or logo in the front of the box, side of the box. Some of them gonna have their own custom cartridge with logos, their logos, things
That's
like that.
cool.
So yeah.
Like the old Activision carts that actually had like an embossed. Are you talking, or are you just talking about the
Yeah,
logo on the
yeah.
Like
I
label?
mean,
a
this
raised
one,
portion
yeah,
on the plastic.
this is embossed. This is Opcode,
Okay, yeah,
but
yeah.
you're gonna have
Muddy
different logos
Vision.
here for Mud Vision, for example, which Vladimir, Zeninga, and others.
That's cool.
Christian Hummers, yeah. They're gonna have their own sort of lineup and their own cartridges and things like that. And the third reason, actually, it has to do, the things we're discussing before the show, about the future of, homebrew.
Yes.
Yeah, because, as not only because it's a business, but because, I am really passionate about Atari era gaming to the point where this is the thing I have been doing for most of my life, even if it was a side thing. I knew probably the first time I played an Atari that I want to make games. So, concerns me that this hobby is going to die with us. It's, kind of thing that it sounds sad. So we start thinking it must be some way to bring, or at least try to bring new blood to the hobby,
Okay.
And the thing that occurred to me is that, and I know that because of Grazi. So Grazi, my wife, she's 20 years younger than me.
Lucky man.
And yeah,
Got her sugar daddy's what she did.
but not only because of that, because you get a lot of feedback that you're not gonna get, for example, if I talk to you guys.
Yeah.
So one thing that I noticed is, for example, Grazi, she does not care much about arcade ports, for example, because she does not have the connection, the nostalgia connection with those games. So for her, it's like, what's the point, right? If I want to play Donkey Kong.
Yeah. If I can
Yeah.
add to that, like just my experience with my kids, they're the same way. They'll like the
Yes.
arcade port enough. It's something that it's something they'll play for 10 minutes, and there's not something that they'll invest any serious time or money into, because if it's just for a high score, what's the point? They're actually
Mhm.
they've been raised in an environment where games now have a story and an ending, and so their purpose to playing is to achieve that ending, or to achieve trophies, or to experience the story, as opposed to shoot the most spaceships.
Exactly. That's one point. I mean, most of those arcade classics that we love, they're lack a more modern, thing for modern sensibility or something. So that was another important reason. So I started thinking about that, and I said, well, it's funny because I dedicate my life as developer doing arcade ports for almost 30 years. And I finally see that that's not the future. The future is new content, is new games. We need to get away from arcade ports, because
That's not to say that there isn't a place for them.
No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still making those, but I think that if you want any chance of a future for this hobby, I think it's gonna be there. Our best
God
chance.
bless you. That's the best thing I've heard you say.
Well, and
a good
talking
thing.
about ports, graphically, I mean, you're not going to really do a decent like Street Fighter
I
game.
agree. You compare your kids to
Not
my
what I
one.
meant. Not what I meant.
She's not that young.
What I was saying was, I don't think that it would be feasible to do a really good port of something like Street Fighter or
even the impressive ports, like they're impressive, but they don't do anything to advance or to like further that library. It's just
what it does,
no,
like homebrew ports, especially what they've done for me is like, okay, I'm thinking about what if I had this when I was a kid, because I have nostalgia for the console. But if you got someone,
but for anybody who wasn't a kid in the 80s, it doesn't do that.
80s, try the 60s, bro.
Well, yeah, but you were playing.
I wasn't.
Jacks.
I was in the 70s.
60s.
I was playing Atari in the 70s. So anyway, I was looking at the website, and your website, you've changed it. What's going on with the website? Tell us what's going on with the website right now.
Well, can we let him finish what he was saying about the
I thought he had done that.
Or were you done? Sorry.
Thanks for correcting me.
No, it's okay. I mean, that was the third main reason. Like, I believe that moving forward, the future for for homebrew, let's say, or indie development, whatever, for Atari era consoles it's original content. It's the only chance we have to, I think, try to attract some new blood to the hobby. And the other thing is, with an original content, you can get the best of those consoles, probably, instead of trying to, port a game that was not made for the hardware, right? And again,
Although,
as
although a
as
fellow publisher, this gentleman here in Television Revolution, he publishes a lot of Intellivision games. He says ports forever. He loves
no,
his
I mean,
ports.
I am not saying that we should not have ports. I just saying that, I personally, I think moving forward, that's a thing that I want to do more, and that's the goal with 9-bit robot. It's to do, original content. So yeah.
All right. So, Phil, now you can go onto his website. Oh, and actually, we'll use this as the bridge, because Mr. Postow says he's been wanting to join the Club 3, Club Season 3 for ColecoVision Popeye, but has been having problems joining for a few months.
Yeah, so the website. So okay, so yeah, Phil asked me about the website. So which one, the Opcode or the 9-bit robot?
I presume it would be the Opcode. I have not
Yeah.
experienced any problem with the 9-bit.
Yeah, so Opcode, we opened the new web store, was December something last year, right? But the thing is, I was explaining here, before the show, this is a host that we have been using for OpcodeGames.com since 2002, actually. And our website before was either non-existing or very small. So once we put the store online, we noticed that the performance was horrible. So now we got help, the same person that was creating the 9-bit robot website. He's migrating the Opcode Games website, and it should be online this week, actually.
Okay.
So
people who are wanting to get that Popeye, they will hopefully get some reprieve this week with the new website.
You mean Popeye for what?
I presume 7800.
We ship
Or is it
Popeye.
I'm not sure. Do you have another Popeye coming out?
It's actually says it's on back order on the website.
Oh,
yeah,
so-
it's back order right now. Yeah,
Gotcha.
For
okay.
the cartridge supplies issues we discussed, but again, we hope that the next couple of months that should have been fixed by then. So
may I ask a question about that though? Because I've had some people ask me, and I thought I would pass the question on, although they have actually, I would appreciate if you guys ask your questions yourself also. But if now, it's been my experience, because I've ordered from you a number of times and I've always received what I've ordered. It doesn't all come when you want it, but it does come. Now, there have been some instances where, and you have mentioned, because we've emailed each other in the past and communicated about that kind of thing. But let's say my experience has been, let's say I ordered 4 games and Ed has 2 of them, but there's 2 that he's not able to get at the moment. He'll ship me the 2, and then when the other 2 are ready, I'll get them. So my question is, if someone were to go to your website right now, and if it says it's available and they were to click buy and they buy today, what would be a reasonable time for them to expect to get it? Because I know that you're in programming, you're in production, you're in distributing, you're in the communications, you're in all this, that you're trying to take care of. And so I think that's kind of a reasonable question that
of course.
Okay.
Yeah, so what happened was last year, basically, we, for different reasons, we had delays with the shipping of ColecoVision games. And so we only start shipping late in the year, I think in December something. And we have the number of games we had to ship was like almost 2,000 games or something like that. it was a lot of things, especially because of Pac-Man. So it took a while. I mean, now we're finally wrapping up that. So it took a long while to get all of those games out the door. And I mean, I understand we could do better probably. Late last year, I actually supposedly got a guy to help me with that, and he dropped off, last moment. So we're still looking for help. But that's what happened. So, but anyways, we're now catching up. We're shipping now orders from last month, actually February. So, probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we should be let's say up to date, to the point where you can order and expect to get your game in a couple of weeks. But yeah, that's basically what happened. I saw, I mean, a lot of people really angry. I understand. I mean, I apologize. We try to do our best. I mean, Graz is being, doing shipping almost basically every day since December. But that's the thing. That's yeah.
I will say this, and I understand, because the retro community kind of has been burned in the past, as far as we were talking about the Atari age last chance sale. Some of the people
some of those orders took like 2.5 years to arrive,
and so some of us have been conditioned that it takes a while to get these things, and I'm of the opinion that
doesn't make it right.
But
yeah,
what I'm saying is this: in some ways, the retro community and some of us have kind of grown to expect it in some cases. But I will tell you this, that sometimes good things are worth waiting for. Not saying that there's a reason for that, but I like his games. They have the best packaging in the business. I have not. I mean, I could run over this with my truck and it wouldn't hurt the it wouldn't hurt the box.
Don't actually try that, Phil.
Well, no, I wouldn't do
that
at
home.
it's got a magnetic flap on there so that it closes, and then the printing material inside is top notch.
It's all premium.
It's all premium. The cartridge itself is a premium injected mold with the Opcode logo on the back there. And and in a foam enclosure there, it's not going anywhere, not going to hurt it at all. And I understand why people could be frustrated. I'm not going to say they shouldn't be, but what I am saying is that my experience has been that Eduardo has always, I always say Eduardo, I'm sorry, Ed. He's always he's always come through, and I have been pleased with the games. It's not like I've waited on crappy games. These games are most of these games are top notch, man. I mean, I don't know that I don't think that you really either develop or allow things in your store that are not. Like Popeye, people were crying when that got discontinued at Atari age, and when you got with Daryl about redistributing that, and he tweaked it and fixed it and everything, and it's even better. It's even better.
Although, yeah, but you're just rubbing in the salt into the Russell's wound right now. He's been,
but he'll get it. He'll get it though.
Soon.
He'll get it. He'll. I trust me, Russell. I'm telling you, I have not really bothered Ed too much when it comes to this kind of thing, because I personally know, first of all, he's not making $1 million on this venture, right? And he does most of everything himself, so it just takes time. It does. Now there are a number of games that are on pre-order on the website. I wrote a list: DK Deluxe, Frogger, Pingo, a bunch of new stuff coming down the pike. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so so two things. First of all, those that waiting for Atari games again. for the Atari games, the issue is we're not receiving cartridges from the old supplier. We are waiting for our new cartridges to come from the factory, which again, I think we should get all the pre-orders fulfilled in the next couple of months. Everything is in manufacturing now. Now regarding pre-orders, yes, we have a bunch of games in pre-orders, and that's one decision we made, because here's the thing: when you have such a small structure like we have, it's really hard. It's not like we do stuff on purpose, like, let's say that's gonna be out in 2 months and then it's gonna be out in a year. We do our best effort actually to provide our best estimate we can, like, okay, we really believe this game can be out in 6 months, but then things happen. So we made the decision we're not making those pre-order things probably moving forward anymore. If we do, we're gonna do just right before manufacturing, just to be able to estimate demand for the game. But we're talking about a couple months before manufacturing starts, with everything ready to go, because we know that our experience is, it's not good. It's many times you cannot
Something always comes up.
Yeah, something happens. We have delays, and then of course people get mad. I understand. I mean, you paid for the game, you won the game. So yeah, we're gonna the last time we had pre-orders was actually quite some time ago. It's mid last year something. We're avoiding those, and for 90-bit especially, we're not planning this kind of pre-ordering many months in advance or something.
So BD Retro Mods, who's kindly in the chat asking the questions that he might ask if he was having StreamYard issues, so he wasn't able to get in. But Brian's asking, is that what happened to some of the 7800 titles that were originally on your site? He didn't order them right away and then saw that they were no longer on your website?
Yeah, there was a request from the developer of those games. I think it was half dozen games, right? Well, the developer requests that we had those removed. He has his reasons, professional reasons for that, and we comply. We did
Of course,
that. So
So the only one that I saw that was missing was Uniwars.
for
the
that
7800.
That one is gone. I mean, we're fulfilling. If you had a pre-order before, okay, we're gonna fulfill that, but we're not accepting any more pre-orders. It's all the Bob DiCrescenzo games. Actually, we're talking.
That's fair.
So speaking of Bob, let me ask a quick question about Bob. Bob is a friend of the channel. He has some amazing 7800 games.
Yes,
many of which were taken out of the Atari Store. And since then, Atari, especially with the advent of the 7800 and 2600 plus models, have repackaged and are distributing some of his titles, but they're not going to get licenses for everything that he has developed. Do you see a future working relationship with more of his games that you haven't included as of yet?
You're asking me that?
Yes, I'm asking you.
My understanding is no, we're not playing anything. As I understand, Bob is now. I don't think that's a secret anymore. Bob is working for Atari.
Oh, he's working for Atari. Okay.
Yeah,
which would make sense why maybe the Bob DiCrescenzo things wouldn't be coming out from Opcode anymore.
Yeah, so that's
And that's like he apologized. I don't think that's
no, but
that
again, I want to make clear that I don't have any issues with that. I totally understand. I think it was a great opportunity for him. And actually, I appreciate that he helped us to jumpstart our Atari business. So No, yeah,
Oh, of course. No, I've had the pleasure of talking to Bob a few times, and he's an awesome
yeah,
guy. He's a
Very
great
yeah.
guy
good
for the
guy.
community.
He's
So,
yeah, he is.
um,
He's
there's a couple questions here from the chat. Brother Blue asked, "What will the difference between the Coleco version of Popeye versus the 7800 be?"
The ColecoVision version is mine. The 7800 was created by Dario. So that's the difference. And of course, no, there's the difference between the hardware. 7800,
Yeah.
of course, it's a little more powerful, but I I can try to compensate getting even more faithful gameplay. We'll see.
Well, let me tell you something else, and Poe will tell you this. Daryl has set the bar high.
Oh yeah, I
He
know.
has set that bar very high, and so I think that the 7800 version is probably one of the best, if not the best,
Yeah,
port of that game.
It's the best console version of the game, in
Yeah.
my opinion. Yeah.
I
So,
agree.
yeah, but I know that you're fully capable in your development as well, and so
I'll try my
I'm
best.
anxious to
Yeah,
see what you come
I'll
up
give
with.
my
'Cause-
best shot.
yeah, I'm excited.
All right. I warned you that this would come. So, couple questions here. First of all, and I know you talked earlier about disappointing sales for Intellivision, but we'll ask
Yeah.
anyway. Any new Intellivision games in the pipeline for Opcode?
No.
Okay.
We don't have. As I said, I mean, it's not. The experience in general was not good, to be honest. I mean, I have no problem talking stuff,
Yeah. Well, you're free
making.
to. Hey. It's just between us, man. Tell us what you want to say.
Yeah, I mean, there was not a good experience in terms of sales. We invested a lot of money; it was not worth it. I don't know if we even got even. The other thing is, the environment with developers in the television is
It is very different
yeah.
from what I
I
can
mean,
gather.
people want stuff, paid. I mean, I understand. I mean, it was a commission, for the two ports, which is I totally understand. I commissioned the games, right? So I paid those in advance, okay. But then after that, it's like every game is like that. And there is other things like there's a bid war, and I am not into those things. So
Yes. I
yeah,
trust I am very familiar with how Intellivision programmers and publishers tend to interact.
yes,
And it is so incredibly different from
yeah, I
others.
did not like that. So yeah.
But
I
the
have,
second
on
part
the
of the
other
question,
hand, I have a great relationship with all the Atari, developers that
yeah.
we're publishing. Really, really, I'm being really honest here. So yeah, I'm lucky working.
Mhm.
All
Uh,
they're all amazing people. Yeah.
This and maybe an opportunity to recoup some of that money and actually break even. What are your thoughts on the Intellivision Sprint? And could there be Opcode Sprint sticks or ROM sales, even of just the Intellivision games?
I guess so. I mean, there are a few things here. First, to be honest, I'm not a big fan of digital. I understand it might be a necessity eventually. But I'm one reason I start Opcode was because think of this. It was 2002. Okay, I don't think we ever even had Atari Asia Store at that point in time. The very few people publishing games in the for Atari era consoles, they're basically recycling cartridges,
Yeah.
print printing labels and stuff at home and doing like that. And I was probably the very first one that went to the trouble of getting everything professionally printed. I got a tooling for cartridge made at the time. It's not the same that I use today, but it was a custom.
Yeah.
And because I just love the physical experience. I mean, for me, that was, as a kid, it was part of the whole thing to, buy the
Mhm.
game and open the box and read the manual. I know I am one of those.
I totally agree with you. There is also something really to be said about the convenience. I know for me,
Yeah.
and I know for a lot of others, they'll buy like for Champ Games. I always get the physical and the ROM. And then I
Mm-hmm.
have the physical and I can play it on my system. But when I want to stream, now I can stream Champ Games because when I'm streaming, I can only share my screen. But now I can play that in Stella, stream, play it conveniently, and have the
Yeah.
physical experience when I want it.
And the same thing with the Sprint. We can stream games from the
Yeah.
ROM, by ROM stick, on our channels, and that's something that I like doing. And that's one reason why some of my games are still in their packages, because I do have some ROMs of some of these games. So
And in fairness, Intellivision Revolution is like he has started selling actual physical Sprint releases. So it's got a USB with the label on it, and the files are on the USB. So you still get a box to put on the shelf that you plug in, and a USB that you plug into your system. So there's still, like, there are ways to do it. It doesn't just have to be somebody buys it and they download it and run it.
Yeah, I mean, again, for it could be a thing for the television. To be
Mhm.
honest, I have not thought about that yet. But with other systems, like for example, ColecoVision, we have our own cartridge technology, the PCB. It's the mapper is custom. I don't think there's any emulator out there that actually can emulate.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Um,
Or maybe a
and
Phoenix. You can load the ROM onto Phoenix and it should work, right?
No, it cannot run. I
No?
mean, you can use the cartridge, but you cannot. I don't think so.
Interesting.
As far as I know, Atari Max, none of those can emulate Super Game cartridge. And the other thing is for Atari, for example, then it's that's up to the developers actually
Yes. Yeah.
to do the ROM distribution.
I
It's not
I
it's
would
not on us.
highly encourage you, because you've already said, you don't really have an interest in continuing within television. So you're not
Hmm.
worried about, like, if you, like, I know a lot of homebrewers, since they started releasing digital ROMs, they've bumped their profits up. If you just want to, like, maybe get the profit left out of those and you sell
Okay.
your remaining stock of the physical,
Yeah.
it'd be a great one to start with. And there are people in the community that would create all the files for you that properly put it on the Sprint, like
Okay.
the cartridge, or not, the overlays and there's absolute reach out in Discord if you're interested in doing that. I can
Okay.
hook you up with the right people, and
All
I
right.
think it'd be a great thing.
Okay.
Um,
Awesome. Yeah, I can try that.
Mr. Poststyle says he would gladly playtest your ColecoVision Popeye.
Good to know. Yeah.
Mr.
Yeah. So
Poststyle is the ultimate Popeye fan.
yeah, we have um again, because we had so many delays last year.
Hmm.
We our pipeline of ColecoVision, it's still a little we need to get some games moving. So we have 3 more coming in the next couple of months, and that includes the new port of Ladybug for
Yes.
for ColecoVision. And after that, there's one game that is ready to go. It's Turtles, which is a port of arcade game by Konami. But it's part of the season 3 package, so I'm sort of waiting to see what exactly I'm gonna do. And then I have to decide if I'm gonna finish the season 3 package first, or
Hmm.
if I should do I have two other in the pipeline is Pango and Frog. And talking about Pango, uh, we are publishing there's version of Pango for the second time.
yes,
So
Great
So
game, man. That is awesome.
It is a really
yeah,
good
so
version.
that's another reason there for me, for example, there to maybe get Pango, move it to the front of front of the line to
Yeah.
ColecoVision games and try to get they're close to each other. I guess that would be cool.
We got a question here from Andy Schmidt. So will the 9-bit robot publish physical carts, but the developers, say Hammers Dev, they're able to do whatever they want digitally with the ROM? Is that kind of the deal?
Yes, that's our deal with basically I think all the developers. They have control over the ROMs, Motivision, Vladimir. So yeah, Hammers Dev, he has the control. So we're gonna only do the physical editions.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is all the questions from the chat currently.
Can I share my screen? I want to add it to the stage. The reason is I just kind of
Yeah.
want to give people a look at the website. This is the Opcode
Which
website.
hopefully will be updated this week.
Yes.
It has to be because this host, the old host is about to expire and I don't want to renew. So
Yeah.
the new site is done. It's just a matter of transferring the GNS or whatever.
Yeah, and the link for this site is in the description of the video for anybody.
Yes. It just happens to be a little bit like Mike, a little slow. So
a lot. Yeah, it's very slow.
So
who you calling slow?
He's just now getting it, see? Okay. Man, I've enjoyed this stream. It's been very good. Like I said, I was looking, I've been thinking to myself, I've got to stop spending money. And you guys, every time I say that, I look up and you guys keep putting stuff out there.
Every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
That's right. And I'm thinking, oh Lord. Because I have a lot of your games. I have a lot of your games, but there are a lot of your pre-order that I haven't even put orders in for yet. And I'm like, oh no. But
yeah, I mean, we 90-bit things are gonna be a little different. Both you guys actually are part of we have initiative for YouTubers. So you guys gonna receive kits or something eventually.
Oh, hey,
nice.
Anything that's ever sent to me, I will cover the heck out of it.
Absolutely.
Hugo, I mention them all the time.
Yep. Same here.
One final question for Crypto Coffee. Considering currently you only sell physical, I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but when you create a game, do you have an end game of it being offered as a cartridge or a digital? Cartridge.
It's okay. That's a question for me.
Yeah. Physical is your end game.
Of
it's always
course.
been your priority.
Always.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And if I may add a couple of things, I don't know how much time is to have, but if you don't mind,
we don't have a hard end.
No.
Okay, so if I may add a couple of things. So first one is okay, I lost my but there's one is the one thing that I like to mention here is that with 90-bit actually we got a lot of those well-known homebrew developers, and I know I'm not gonna get into discussion about homebrew, indie, whatever you're gonna call them. Like Motivision, Hammers Dev is a new guy, but really good. The Vladimir, Zeninga, and potentially others that we're still going to announce. But one goal also was and it has to do with that thing, to try to attract new blood to the scene. You see that guy Pixel Liquor.
Yep.
So Pixel Liquor, probably if you're watching this, you're gonna, which Pixel Liquor? Never heard this developer.
I've never heard of Pixel Liquor.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's not into homebrews. He's indie dev, actually, professional
Oh,
indie
okay.
dev. So, he's ex Capcom. He's he working this industry for a long time.
Hmm.
And one goal I had was I want to bring those indie devs to especially the Atari 700 scene, because um, I think some of the content they produce, it might help attract this kind of new audience that we're looking to. So he's the first one. We're in talk with two more.
Okay.
Fingers crossed that one of them is really well known. We'll see. But that's one thing. And the other thing I forgot. Sorry.
Well, before you go, I do want, we didn't talk about this too much. We
I
did
cannot
slight
hear
little bit the super
Phil.
game module.
Oh, you can't hear Phil?
No,
Check,
I
check,
can.
check. Okay.
I can hear Phil.
Okay.
Hmm. Okay.
We haven't talked about the super game module.
If you're
Now,
asking me something, Phil, I
Oh,
cannot
okay.
hear
So
you.
you can't. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. He's he. And I hear you fine, Phil. So I don't know what's
okay.
going on,
Yeah,
but
okay.
um, he's asking about the super game module. Last time you were on, you teased about a new super game module.
Yeah, but with so much going on, we had to actually postpone that, until, I don't know, eventually, because the super game module 2 is not just hardware, it's also software. It has
Hmm.
online stuff, and I gonna need to concentrate to get some of that done myself. So I still don't have the time, so it's still waiting. But yeah, hopefully we're gonna get there. I now remember the other thing.
Okay.
Talking about super game module 2, I was excuse me, I was talking about the plus consoles. So I'll say this. I think that we are discussing things like advanced mappers and stuff a bit ago about 700, right? The plus consoles, they're a problem regarding that kind of thing. No, Ricky Vicky is still not working after
Yeah.
I don't know, so many
Well,
years.
because the cartridge port doesn't interact like a real cartridge port. It is a ROM dumper. And so if the
Yes.
ROM dumper doesn't read the mapper properly or doesn't read whatever it is, then you have an
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah, I understand the technical reasons. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that, I think that's too bad, because again, that's one of the main features of the real 7800. And, now we have thousands of those plus consoles out there that cannot properly emulate Atari 700. And I'm saying that, no, not to, badmouth Atari or something. It's just saying that as a developer, I think it's very frustrating. I think it's something that Atari should look into. Um, I I I don't know exactly. I mean, I heard some stuff about why they cannot dump the Rick and Vicky or something, but I mean, I know that they cannot do that, but I don't know why, because it should be possible
Yeah.
in theory. So, anyways, it's something that I am not particularly into this kind of system on a chip box console. I would prefer it was FPGA. I think
Yeah.
we would.
The costs that come with FPGA are tough to swallow. But
Well, I'm not sure it would
now,
be much
if
more
a
than,
person
yeah.
like you, because I know you have the ability, or at least have the connections of people ability, we
Mhm.
need a kind of an FPGA like the Phoenix that also has like a 7800 slot and an Intellivision slot, like because you just need the DB9 connectors, be really nice and add the Super Nintendo connectors, if somebody could make that for a very core group, it would fly off the shelves.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I swear to God, it's not my intention here to actually, I'm not promoting any idea that I have. I just have too much on my plate right now.
No, I'm projecting my idea.
Yeah, but I would love that someone would implement your idea, because that would be great. I mean, we need a real 700-800 placement. I don't think the Plus is that. I'm sorry, Atari may hate me for saying that, but
I don't think anybody would hate you for saying it. I still recommend the Plus systems for anybody who's like, they just want their taste of Atari. And it's compatible with a lot of stuff, but you're right, especially for people who are trying to push the 7800.
Exactly.
That's not going to cut it.
Yeah. Yes. We if you want a new sound chip inside the cartridge, I have to wait for them to actually, implement that in the emulator, things like that. No, that's not the way. Anyways, that was my 2 remarks. So yeah, I'm done. I'll be quiet.
And at the 1 hour and 6 minute points, Retro Gamer 1977 says, "What did I miss?"
Of course.
I think the answer is the show, but you can watch it back.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a very interesting show. Very good show.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I know that, for example, for 7800, the install base of the Plus console, it's so large now that I suppose almost all developers are making efforts to make their games compatible. But I, as a developer myself, I find some things frustrating. But anyways,
most of the ones that don't work for me are basically like homebrews that maybe have been developed somewhere else, like out of the country, or that kind of thing. But anyway, I've had a really good time tonight. Thank you for being on, Ed. We'd like to have you back at some point. Maybe we'll do this again when we see some more development with Opcode.
With that FPGA console you're making.
Yeah, right. He's not. No pressure. No pressure.
I'm not. I don't have time anymore. No. My plate's full.
Well, we can attest to the quality of your games, and trust me, if you guys are waiting, you won't be waiting too much longer. I just know I've never ever had to worry or think about it. It's just like I just know I'm gonna get it because it always happens. So anyway, thanks, Ed. We appreciate you guys for you being on the channel. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate everybody watching out there. Thank you to all of our channel members and to all of our subscribers. Hit the likes and share and all that fun YouTube stuff. So with that, we're sorry we missed Brian tonight, but we'll catch him next time. So that kind of happens. So anyway, you guys have an awesome day. We'll see you next time on Retro Bliss Rewind.